Welcome to GV Faculty Focus, the podcast where we introduce you to the faculty who are the heart of Grand Valley State University to learn more about their work that's making a difference for both our students and our community. And here's your host, GVSU President Philomena Mantella.
Hello, and thanks for joining us at the second episode of GV Faculty Focus. I'm GVSU President Philomena Mantella, and I want to thank those of you who downloaded the first episode. We've received such great feedback, and we're excited to keep introducing you to members of our faculty. This month, I'm pleased to be joined by Jaideep Motwani. Jaideep is a department chair and a professor in the management department in the Seidman College of Business. He received his bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Mumbai, his master's in business administration from Sam Houston State, and his Ph.D. in operations management from the University of North Texas. He has been published nearly 200 times during his career, and he's recently ranked fourth by highly ranked scholars for the number of times that his published works have been downloaded. Jaideep has been at GVSU for 34 years and has made a huge impact on generations of students in our educational community. Jaideep, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your recent honor.
Thank you, President Mantella. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I'm looking so forward to this conversation because, sometimes in our university, we'll think about publishing scholarship and we'll relate it to the faculty scholar role and how important it is to the work of teaching. Can you just talk about the way you think about it?
Yeah, honestly, I'd love to talk about it because I have a passion for research and scholarship. I actually find that research and teaching are interlinked. They have to go together. I'm a much better teacher thanks to my research and my consulting work in the community. What has happened is over the years, you graduate from a Ph.D. program, you're doing a lot of theoretical research, and trying to publish in top journals. But after, the beauty of academics is when you get tenure, you can do what you want. And over the years, I've gone into more applied learning, applied research. And I've seen, that when we teach tough concepts like in supply chain, like Lean and Six Sigma, when you introduce those concepts in the classroom, people stare at you because they have no idea what it is. But when I bring in that research, the interviews I've had with companies, I bring case studies, I bring data, and they get excited. You can see that transformation in their faces. And that's why I believe, that keeps me ticking, and that's why I like to do more and more research, more applied learning so that I can share it with my corporate partners as well as my students.
It creates such an important sort of line of sight for students who are sitting there in the theoretical and trying to figure out, what does this mean when I walk out the door and I start my practice? When you talk about applied learning, how do you think about that? Say a little bit more about what you mean when you say that.
Applied learning in the classrooms, it varies. Initially, when I was a junior faculty, it was more short case studies, bringing in speakers. But over the years, I've gone into more project-based learning. And more importantly, I believe, giving my students the maximum exposure to what the real world is. So I bring in guest speakers, but I tell the guest speakers not to talk about their companies, but bring a real problem which they are encountering at work and make the students solve it in the classroom. And also my projects, last semester, I had a great ball because we do I teach the capstone advanced supply chain course. And I made my students work with two other teams from Krakow School of Economics. So each of them, there's a large team of 15 people working on a research project. And I think that was tremendous learning for our students because it made them realize that there are different ways to communicate. And it also replicated what a project environment would be in the real world.
Yeah, so true. And I think we have something like 84 global companies in West Michigan. So many of our companies have that kind of footprint, and just the knowledge of working beyond cultures, beyond time zone, on real work. How does it influence your consulting? How does that work come into the way in which you work inside an environment, a
Yeah.
corporate environment?
Yeah. See, when I was doing research, I kept my mind open. I was doing research with academic scholars, practitioners, and even consultants. The beauty of working with consultants, you go deep dive into an issue. So my area is supply chain lean, but focusing on operational improvement. And so when you go into, look at a lean project, you deep dive, you can actually bring the value stream maps, you can bring the learnings and get the students involved in simulations. So I see that consulting piece has helped me to write a couple of books. So I've written 6 or 7 books in lean and Six Sigma in the manufacturing and the service sector. So telling those stories today, everything is storytelling, and if you can tell them a continuous story with data, with facts, with interviews, really it's an eye opener for all of us.
I absolutely love that. And I was going to ask you the question, how can you help advise faculty who maybe are timid in the space of getting into publishing, particularly a full book? But I'd also ask you about administrators because you're really opening up the opportunity to have research, data, storytelling inform the work. So how would give us advice?
Yeah, I think, for my new faculty and all faculty across the disciplines, when I started doing research, I kept my mind open. I was not restricted. I'm going to do this type of research, this type of method. I was open. Whenever I got an opportunity, I capitalized on it. So when I was at conferences, I would meet with people, network with people. When I went to professional conferences, I would talk to vice presidents of supply chain, and we would discuss different problems. And then I would say, why don't we do something? Do research on it. So what we teach our students on a daily basis, it's important to network, communicate and coordinate. And that's what research is. That's the key, one of my first tips. Second tip is a lot of academicians believe that this is the only way to do research. It's not true. There are lots of different ways. I've done research on more than 20 different topics with more than 50 people from academics, practitioners, consultants from all over the world. And it's a win-win situation. They think differently, I think differently, and that's the beauty. When we combine our thinking, it adds value. And so that's why I think that's also important. And thirdly, I would like to tell my colleagues that always have a pipeline of research. Don't just do one project at a time. And some people like to do that, but I think research is in my DNA. So if I don't have a couple of research projects at any given time, I'm uncomfortable. I feel I need to do something. So that's important.
Yeah, you are. You have a lot of energy. There's no question. So, but why? So that's counterintuitive because I think a lot of people might think the advice would be go one project at a time, go deep, understand it. But what does it do for you to have multiple projects going on
I
at
think
one
it
time?
makes me think all the time. It makes me relate things to different projects. And I think, honestly, today we are in a world where change is inevitable. Every day there's change. You see it all the time at your workplace. Some people don't like change, but if you don't change, we'll be 100 years behind.
Yeah.
So that's why I like Grand Valley. I think it's inspired me to do all this research because I've got support from my administrators. I have leaders like you who, make change a reality. I like to think out of the box and avoid doing research which is traditional. It's important for everyone till they get tenure, publish in the best journal. We do publish yet in A and elite journals, but we are not forced to do it. So I want to do projects which I think are more impactful and value driven.
That's great. It's clear just talking to you and seeing your academic record, your vita, you could be anywhere. But you've chosen Grand Valley and you've chosen to stay at Grand Valley for over 30 years. So tell me that you started to touch on the why, but can you say a little more about why you've made that choice repeatedly?
I feel like there's freedom, academic freedom over here, and that's important. You do classroom, you do teaching, but you have time to enjoy and do other things. I think research is fun. If it were not fun, I would tell you all not to do it. And that's why my advice, another advice I'd like to give my colleagues is do research of topics that excite you and you are having fun. Do research with people you're going to have fun with. So I think why I stayed here is because I think Grand Valley, apart from all the beautiful facilities and other things they provide, our library is very good. I think the opportunity to work with excellent colleagues within the business school, across the university is phenomenal. Plus, also, I think the connection with the business community encourages you to work closely with them. So, and that By working closely with the business community, one big advantage is the community is more open to hiring my students. So my students get hired in the big consulting firms, big this thing, because I write reference letters, which align with the company's needs. All that adds up and creates maximum value, I think.
I just love the way that you give a global concept, like really knowing the companies, and then show how it can create advantages for us as a university and advantages for our students by being able to really speak to their business issues when you're recommending a student. That's just so profound. I'm just so appreciative of you. You've worked on a number of the president's initiatives and teams. I know that Dean Lawson thinks very highly of your work. You're obviously very accomplished. Thank you so much for sharing some of your insights with us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Every morning when I wake up, I'm excited to go to work. I look forward to it. Sometimes when I go out of town, I enjoy, but after a week, I tell my wife, I think we need to go back to work. I think I'm getting bored now, because it's just in my DNA, teaching, research, service. I love going back to the classroom, meeting with the students, teaching the students. It's just been a fun journey, 34 years, and I'm grateful to Grand Valley for giving me that opportunity.
And we're grateful to you for all the work you've done, the students you've influenced, the way you've strengthened Seidman College of Business, and the way you've strengthened our community, and not just our local community, but our global community and network. So thank you very much for being here with me.
Oh, welcome, President. I really appreciate all you have done. And honestly, I'm not trying to do any praise you or something unnecessary. I genuinely think you're a great role model for me and other people.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
GV Faculty Focus has been produced by Grand Valley State University. Theme music performed by Associate Department Chair and Professor of Saxophone, Dan Grazer, and the Cinta Quartet. Thanks for listening.